on satellite, on Freeview, on cable, on radio, on mobile, on the web and around the world. This is First at 9 on Other Derana 24/7.
It's for the future. The Prime Minister says chat on persons forcibly made to disappear has no bearing on the past. No end in sight. The strike launched by trade unions and the Ceylon Electricity Board continues for a fourth day. New proposal. The Presidential Committee report on SITEM released. Student admission also suspended. And in news overseas, watch out. President Trump says he will destroy Islamic terrorists. In the sporting arena, there's still hope. The International Olympic Committee confident of Winter Games in South Korea despite tensions. Bring you news from home and across the world. This is First at 9 on Other Derana 24/7. Good evening, I'm Katharina Chang. On to our top story tonight, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe emphasises that the Charter of the Persons Forcibly Made to Disappear is designed to be effective for the future and not the past. The Prime Minister cleared the air on the issue addressing a function held in Polpithigama, Kurunegala today. 3 buildings were unveiled in Polpithigama at the Rajasinghe Primary School, the Divisional Secretariat and the National School under the patronage of Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe today.
We signed the International Convention for the Protection of All Persons from Enforced Disappearances in December 2015. We have presented the draft to the Parliament for it to be enforced as law. Under its first clause, it will come into effect from the date the Speaker of the Parliament signs it. It will not be enforced on a date before it. No one can take any step against enforced disappearances prior to October or November of 2017. If an incident of enforced disappearance takes place in the future, they can request government to take action against it. We don't need to take legal action against those who were engaged in the war or go to international courts. We can resolve any issue in Sri Lanka with the country's law. That promise given by the President will not be breached by any of us.
In the meantime, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe emphasises the importance of concentrating on an industrial economy above an agricultural economy. He was addressing the 40th anniversary of the Sri Lanka Board of Investments last evening.
For the first time in Sri Lanka's history, there is a government which consists of 2 main parties. Therefore, the basic measures and principles adopted by this government won't be changed. They should be implemented. More investors will come to Sri Lanka. We have the Board of Investment and the Tourism Board. Since the local investors alone didn't have capital for the projects we launched, we invited both local and international investors. I think industries can reach everywhere. The primary aim of encouraging new businesses, the tourism industry, information technology, as well as making Sri Lanka the hub of the Indian Ocean for maritime movements, developing financial and banking services, is to increase jobs and good income. We have a good future and we should continue walking on this path without any fear. We now have the opportunity to reach global markets, including Europe, China and Singapore. We should concentrate on an industrial economy rather than one based on the plantation sector.
The strike launched by the trade unions of the Ceylon Electricity Board continued for a 4th consecutive day today. The protesters demand legal action against corrupt officials within the CEB.
The trade unions of the Ceylon Electricity Board commenced the strike last Wednesday, demanding electricity tariffs be reduced by recovering the losses incurred by the corrupt officials within the CEB. As protesters were not willing to conclude the strike, the Ministry of Power and Renewable Energy called on retired field technical officers and drivers who left the service after the 1st of September in 2014 to voluntarily report back to duty. Replying to Ministry's request, however, the CEB Pensioners Association said none of the pensioners will be reporting back for work.
අපි සූදානම් නැහැ යන්න විදුලි මණ්ඩලයේ විශ්‍රාමිකයන්ගේ සංගමයේ කිසිම කෙනෙක් මේ වෙනුවෙන් ඉදිරිපත් වෙන්න බලාපොරොත්තුවකුත් නැහැ ඉදිරිපත් වෙන්නෙත් නැහැ.
Meanwhile, the ministry said yesterday that they received a positive response to their request.
30ක වගේ ප්‍රතිශතයක් සමස්තයක් විදියට සේවයට වාර්තා කරලා තියෙනවා. සමහර සේවක කොටස් රාජකාරියට වාර්තා කිරීමට කැමැති බව ප්‍රකාශ කරලා තිබුණාත් ඔවුන්ට යම් යම් බලපෑම් අනුව සේවයට පැමිණීම නොහැකියාවක් තියෙන බව තමයි ප්‍රකාශ කරලා තියෙන්නේ. නමුත් අපි පැමිණෙන සේවකයන්ට අවශ්‍ය කරන ආරක්ෂාව ශ්‍රී ලංකා පොලිස් දෙපාර්තමේන්තුව මගින් මේ කාර්යාලවලට සහ ඔවුන් ක්ෂේත්‍රයේ රාජකාරී ඉටු කරනකොට ලබා දෙනවා. වර්ජනීය අසාර්ථකයි කියන තත්ත්වය තමයි අපිට පැහැදිලිව ප්‍රකාශ කරන්න පුළුවන්.
In the meantime, other Derana witnessed bill payment processes in the headquarters of the CEB being conducted as per usual without any disruption. However, people's daily lives were hampered in several areas, including Anuradhapura and Matugama, due to power outages. Areas in Ampara reported continuous power outages for 4 consecutive days, and residents in the area expressed their distress over the situation at the CEB office in Ampara. Army media spokesperson Major General Roshan Senivaratna meanwhile told Other Derana that as per the special request by the Ministry of Power and Renewable Energy, 153 Triforces units consisting of 5 members in each will be deployed during a crisis situation. These units will provide security as well as technical assistance. Meanwhile, trade unions engaged in the strike emphasize that they will stage the protest continuously until their demands are met.
මින් පස්සේ අපි ඇමතිවරයාත් එක්ක කිසිම සාකච්ඡාවකට යන්නේ නැහැ. ජනාධිපතිවරයා අගමැතිවරයා සහභාගී වෙන සාකච්ඡාවකට යනවා මිසක අපි ඒකපොද උද්දේශ සංජානක වෙනත් පාර්ශ්වයත් එක්ක සාකච්ඡා කරන්නේ නැහැ කියලා පැහැදිලි තීරණයකට එළඹිලා තියෙනවා. සාර්ථක විසඳුමක් ලැබෙන තුරු මේක යකට දින නියමයක් නැතුව මේක ඉදිරියට පවත්වාගෙන යනවා.
කණ්ඩායම් දෙකක් දෙපාර්ශ්වයකට වෙලා කෙලවරක් නැතුව අන්තයන් දෙකක් ගැන කතා කරද්දී මධ්‍යස්ථ තැනකට විසඳුමක් හොයනවා කියන එකත් අමාරුයි. ප්‍රශ්න තියෙන්න පුළුවන් අපි තවත් නිවැරදි කරගත යුතුයි. මම ඉතාම කරුණාවෙන් අපේ මේ සහෝදරයන් ආරාධනා කරනවා විදුලි බල මණ්ඩලයේ කීර්තිනාමය ආරක්ෂා කරගන්න. කරුණාකර සේවයට එන්න.
The Presidential Committee appointed to resolve issues related to CITEM recommends a temporary halt to student admissions to the institute until proposed restructuring is complete. According to the President's Media Unit, student admissions are suspended until either the 31st of December this year or the date minimum standards are gazetted. However, the Government's Medical Officers Association, Inter-University Students Federation and Inter-Medical Faculty Students Action Committee rejected the report.
The report of the Presidential Committee to resolve issues related to CITEM was released today. The committee appointed by the President consists of Deputy Minister Harsha De Silva, secretaries of several ministries, Attorney General and the Chairman of the University Grants Commission. It is mentioned in the report that although the committee held discussions with Sri Lanka Medical Council and some other parties, discussions couldn't be held with the Government Medical Officers Association, which engaged in trade union action over the issue. The report proposes several solutions for issues which have already been in principle agreed upon by the representatives of the Sri Lanka Medical Council and Dr. Neville Fernando. However, the first recommendation proposed by the report is to abolish the current shareholding and management structure of CITEM and in its place create a new entity that is non-profit with a broad-based ownership structure. The report also suggests that the Ministry of Health gazettes the minimum standards for medical education and training. In order to provide a sustainable solution to the accreditation and quality assurance in medical education, the committee proposes to expedite the establishment of the proposed Independent Quality Assurance and Accreditation Authority, which is currently at an advanced stage of drafting. This envisaged authority will take over the powers currently with the University Grants Commission and the Ministry of Higher Education in the determination of quality assurance and accreditation of all degrees. For the medical degree programs, the Sri Lanka Medical Council will be the professional or statutory body which will be consulted, and the SLMC will work in collaboration with IQAAA. The report further suggests actions recommended to trigger the proposed solution and to negotiate to end the boycott of medical students of state universities. As an immediate step, the committee recommends that the Secretary to the Ministry of Higher Education to discuss with the Attorney General to determine an appropriate legal binding mechanism to inform CITEM to suspend admission of new students until proposed restructuring is complete and fresh approvals are granted for the degree program according to legally empowered minimum standards. However, according to the report, this letter should not have any binding impact on the students who have already passed out with MBBS degrees from CITEM. Eventually, the report recommends to appoint a high-powered committee to oversee the completion of the recommendations contained in the report. Although the report is issued, the hunger strike launched by the anti-CITEM movement continued for a 27th day.
මේ කියන්නේ බලවිනතාව නෙවෙයි මේක. తాවකාලිකව ශිෂ්‍යව බඳවාගෙන නවත්තනවා කියලා. මීට කලින් වතාවක කරලා නෙවිල් ප්‍රනාන්දු මහත්තයා ඒක නොසලකා ශිෂ්‍යව බඳවාගත්තා. විදේශීය වෛද්‍ය සභාවකුත් සයිටම් ආයතනයේ අසාදු ලේඛනයට දාලා බ්ලැක් ලිස්ට් කරලා අයින් කරලා තියෙද්දි උග්‍ර වෙලා තියෙන ප්‍රශ්නය යම් තාක් දුරට සමහන් කරලා නැවත වතාවක් සයිටම් එකට ලයිසන් එක දෙන වගේ තමයි මේ කරන්න හදන්නේ.
The GMOA too expressed their views on the development.
Unfortunately, this committee totally failed to give solutions to any parties of this conflict. They mainly focused on how to safeguard the Neville Fernando and the SITEM and how to standardize these forged institutions, try to safeguard some ministers. We vehemently oppose to the committee report.
Minister Field Marshal Sarat Fonseca has been under the spotlight recently for his comments directed at Venerable Ale Gunawansa Thera. The minister identified the Thera as a clergyman or a Chivradarya recently, giving rise to a debate where some call the minister's remarks disrespectful to the Mahasangha. The minister last night gave an explanation to his comments.
Politicians are given power and they shouldn't be misused. After doing something wrong, they can't just say they gave the orders since they had the power to do so. If someone had misused state funds, the law should be exercised without considering their designation. They collect money making it a reason. Several others too collect money in different means. I believe that this money will also be misused. I thought you would raise that question. I saw those accuse me visit the courts daily. They have robbed state funds. The people will decide where those persons should go. The Buddhist dictionary characterizes the word I used towards the Thera as a monk clad in a robe. However, when the Thera accused me of betraying the army, I can't just agree with the remark.
National Alliance for Lawyers Association accuses the allegations against war heroes, lawyers and Buddhist clergy are made in line with a pre-planned agenda. Members of the association made the remark at a media briefing held in Colombo today.
Several parties, including Deputy Minister Ranjan Ramanayake, suddenly started attacking lawyers and justices. Why are they doing it? There will be a federal constitution and international courts in the future, and they will also start hunting war heroes. They have identified that lawyers and the justice system must be silenced. The International Convention for the Protection of All Persons from Enforced Disappearances Bill will be taken up for debate on the 21st. If this convention is passed in Parliament, we will be obliged to hand over war heroes like General Jagat Jayasuriya to all those Latin American countries. We will be watching whether those parliamentarians who are versed in legal matters such as Susil Premajayantha, Nimal Siripal de Silva, Anurag Priyadarshana Yapa and Chandima Veerakwadi raise their hands in favour of the convention on the 21st.
UPFA parliamentarian Kehelia Ramukwala charges that the United States of America fashioned a constitution for Sri Lanka. Addressing a media briefing in Kandy today, the former minister said the matter was divulged to him by a member of the US Congress.
I state with responsibility that I had discussions with the Senate team of the US Congress and I was accompanied by a delegation. During discussions, one of their prominent figures said that they had prepared a constitution for Sri Lanka and it is accepted by all except a certain cadre and the former president. I actually respect the Chief Minister of the Northern Province, C.V. Vigneshwaran, for having an audience with the Chief Prelate of the Askariya chapter and saying it's better to have a federal constitution. He has my gratitude for being open than the state leaders.
A Hartal campaign was worked off yesterday in Adelaide, Chennai, Ampara. Our correspondent said approximately 500 locals of Adelaide, Chennai were among the protesters.
The 20th Amendment to the Constitution and unifying the northern and eastern provinces were at the heart of the protest. It was staged in Adelaide, Chennai along the Kalmune-Akkarepattu main road. The Minister of Health of the Eastern Province, A.L.M. Nazir, arrived at the scene and his actions led to a commotion. The provincial minister was then removed from the location by his security detail, and the protesters dispersed following approximately 2 hours of protest.
The offshore petrol vessel provided by the Indian government to the Sri Lanka Navy is in a bid to expand its operational capabilities, arrived at the Colombo harbour this morning. The ship was received by the Navy in accordance with naval traditions. The ship was officially taken over by the Director General of the Sri Lanka Coast Guard, Rear Admiral Samantha Wimalatunga, at the port of Kochi, India on the 5th of September 2017. The new platform, which is manned by 10 officers and 98 sailors, is led by Captain Neville Ubesiri as its commanding officer. On to other local news now. A police constable attached to the Boralanda Police Training School took his own life by shooting himself with his service revolver this morning. A failed love affair is suspected to have led the unfortunate incident.
23-year-old Lakmal Priyantha Bandara, who was a resident of Ampara, took his own life around 7 this morning. He took his life at the security room located close to the main gates of the Boralanda Police Training School. Investigations revealed that although parents from both sides had given their blessings for the union, the parents of the girlfriend had suddenly changed their minds on the marriage. Lakmal had expressed his heartache on Facebook as well. Statistics from the World Health Organization showed that Sri Lanka had the 4th highest suicide rate in the world. Recently, a hotline 1333 was launched to provide emotional support and guidance for persons struggling with similar issues.
The pound has hit its highest level against the US dollar since the Brexit vote. After senior Bank of England officials fueled speculations it could raise rates in the coming months. The bank kept rates at 0.25% this week but hinted at a rise in the future.
Sterling rose more than 1% against the dollar to hit 1.3610 US dollars. That was its highest level since 24th of June, the day after the Brexit vote. The pound also gained more than 1.1% against the euro to rise to 1.137 euros by yesterday. Analysts suggest the Bank of England could now lift interest rates back to 0.5% by November, the level they were before the EU referendum. Markets, which track investors' expectations for the bank rate, now give a 63% likelihood of a rise in November, the highest since the Brexit vote.
Meanwhile, the prices of Bitcoin and other major cryptocurrencies fell sharply following the announcement by one of the largest Chinese cryptocurrency trading platforms on stopping all trading from the 30th of September.
The value of Bitcoin in China plummeted some 14% to hit a new low to slightly above 21,000 yuan by the end of Thursday. Bitcoin has nosedived more than 30% since its peak of 31,000 yuan at the beginning of this month, and it continued to drop day by day. The trading price of the cryptocurrencies on BTC China reported much worse performance since the company released the announcement on trading halt at the end of this month. BTC China's move came after the Chinese authorities banned the initial coin offerings on 4th of September and instituted tougher supervision over the digital fundraising platforms.
The UK police arrested an 18-year-old suspect today over suspicions of terror offences in connection with yesterday's attack on a London tube train. The man was detained in the port area of Dover by Kent Police and is held at a local station.
Metropolitan Police Deputy Assistant Commissioner said the arrest was significant, but the terror threat level remains at critical. Home Secretary Amber Rudd will be chairing a meeting of the government's Cobra Emergency Committee later. 30 people were injured after the explosion on a train at Parsons Green. Most people were treated for minor injuries and released. The so-called group Islamic State claimed responsibility for the attack. It is, however, common for the group to claim responsibility for attacks whether they are involved or not.
US President Donald Trump, meanwhile, condemned the London terror attack, insisting America and its allies will never be intimidated by radical Islamic terrorism. He also condemned the missile test launched by North Korea yesterday.
US President Donald Trump delivered remarks about terrorism to military personnel and their families at an air show held at the Joint Base Andrews in Maryland yesterday.
I spoke with a wonderful woman, British Prime Minister Theresa May, this morning and relayed America's deepest sympathy as well as our absolute commitment to eradicating the terrorists from our planet. Radical Islamic terrorism. It will be eradicated, believe me. We'll never be intimidated. We will defend our people, our nation, and our civilization from all who dare to threaten our way of life. This includes the regime of North Korea, which has once again shown its utter contempt for its neighbors and for the entire world community. I am more confident than ever that our options in addressing this threat are both effective and overwhelming.
North Korean leader Kim Jong-un vows to reach the country's nuclear goals. Kim Jong-un was quoted by the state-run television KRT, adding the aim was to establish equilibrium of military force with the US.
North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's comments come after North Korea fired its latest missile over Japan in what is being described as the country's farthest-reaching test. The move split world powers who united behind new UN sanctions against North Korea just days ago. Kim personally watched the launch of a Hwasong-12 ballistic missile yesterday. South Korean military said the missile reached an altitude of about 770 kilometers, traveling 3,700 kilometers past the northernmost island of Hokkaido before landing in the sea. It had the capacity to reach the US territory of Guam.
Despite escalating tensions in the Korean peninsula, the International Olympic Committee is still confident that the Pyeongchang Olympics in February will not be affected. Addressing the IOC session in Lima yesterday, its President Thomas Bach was confident that the Games would go ahead as planned in South Korea.
Less than 5 months before the start of the Winter Games in Pyeongchang, world powers are grappling for a response to the latest series of nuclear tests by North Korea and its repeated test firing of ballistic missiles.
Our confidence remains unchanged. We're appealing so that diplomacy and peace will prevail. We also see the deliberations of the UN Security Council, which are also about diplomacy and diplomatic measures and sanctions to resolve this situation. So our position remains unchanged.
Pakistan hopes to host the West Indies on Pakistani soil later this year for a 3-match landmark tour. Acting Ambassador of Pakistan to Sri Lanka, Dr. Sarfraz Ahmad Khan Sipra also recently said that his country plans to host Sri Lanka for a T20 match in the near future. Pakistan's latest designs to resume cricket in the country came at a media briefing held following the conclusion of the 3-match T20 series between the touring World 11 and the Pakistani national team.
As I've already told you earlier, but now you have the real man himself here, that David said, inshallah, he will bring the West Indies cricket team to Pakistan for a 3-match tour at the end of November.
I came over here and showed that it's safe enough then. That will also go some way in convincing our players. Inshallah, in November, we'll be here for a couple of games.
The security agencies proved that they can provide a safe and secure environment.
On to our weather forecast for the next 24 hours now. Strong winds can be expected over the country, particularly in the central hills of the island, northern, north-central, Uva and northwestern provinces and in the Hambantota district. Strong winds can also be expected in the surrounding sea areas. Let's now take a look at your city-by-city forecast. And before we go, we'd like to leave you with some visuals of dancers at the Natanda Dance Theatre of Sri Lanka. Enjoy the subtle movements which create a new dimension in Sri Lankan dancing. Thank you for joining us and have a pleasant evening.
The news and information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.